Hey friend, is dinner time stressing you out and you are so stinking tired of making decisions by the end of the day that you get a little cranky the minute someone asks you, "What's for dinner?" If you are, that is a very good sign that you are in need of a meal planning routine. So let's make it easy and break it down to the five must do's in a meal planning routine that not only simplifies dinner time, but you can also stay consistent with it because it is so easy.
Are you ready to stop the chaos, the stress, the overwhelm that's filling your life? I'm Renae Matt, and together you and I are going to build simple routines that are going to change your life. When you put these habits into practice, you're going to be able to organize your life in a way where you can be there for your family, pay off your debt, save money, your house can stay organized, you don't have to stress about what's for dinner, and you still get time for yourself. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to the Routine Advantage Podcast.
So, if you've been around the podcast for a while, you know that I like talking about routines as a way to build a little system into your life that becomes your default. It's always something that you can rely on and go back to when life starts getting a little chaotic. And that's how it's been with us in our household lately. So, over the holidays, we have been kind of on and off with our meal planning routine, and we've done a lot of traveling. We've been trying to reach a lot of personal goals that takes up a little bit of our extra time. Work has been really busy for me, and I've also been doing a lot of fun projects with my podcast for my personal business. So it's just been a lot. And I have not been prioritizing our meal planning routine. Tony has actually been taking care of a lot of the dinners, but when he does not have an idea of what to make, then he asks me or says that it's my turn to decide. And one thing that I have found, that when I don't have a plan in place, I get a little crabby, because it's like a decision that needs to be made at the end of the day. I have already made so many decisions. I have dealt with everything with my personal business and making decisions, which I love, but it does take time and energy and decisions. And then it goes into my full time job, which I also love. But again, it's a lot of stuff coming at me, and it's a lot of tasks, it's a lot of decisions, it's a lot of organization. And then I get to the end of the day, my mind is exhausted, and now it's time to decide what to do for dinner. Because we have not been prioritizing our meal planning routine, we don't have anything prepared. And then we have to decide what to do. Do we have everything for that? Is any of it in the freezer? And it has just been a bit of a nightmare. And it reminds me how appreciative I am when we actually have our meal planning routine in place and we are consistently doing it. Now, because of the holidays, we purposely did not prioritize it. And I was just telling my husband last week, I'm like, holy cow, we need to get the meal planning routine back into place because this is stressful. And he's like, well, if you don't do your meal planning routine, you get a little cranky. I'm like, yes, yes, I do. So we sat down, we did, or like, I wrote down all of the meals, and he like agreed, because we do a lot of it together, so we do a lot of this planning together too in some cases. So you just have to decide what's best for your house. If you do all the planning and you don't need to do it together, then you don't have to do that. But we went through and made sure that it aligned with our schedules and what we were kind of both in the mood for. We wanted to do a lot of salads coming out of the holidays. We just felt like we just needed more salads. And it was amazing this week because there was no stress. We knew what we were having. We had all the ingredients. Everything was planned. And all we did was just, when it was time to do dinner, we just went right into it, and we didn't even skip a beat. Like, we just knew what we were having and we just did it, and it was so enjoyable. And that is what I want for you, is because even if things like holidays throw you off and get you away from your meal planning routine, and you go through a cycle of life where that's not a priority, you still have built a routine that you can fall back on, that just totally resets, and you can just go right back into it without skipping a beat, because it can change your life. Like, I was so much happier this week when we had a plan, we knew what we were having, and it just made dinner time so much easier. And I was a much nicer person to be around because I wasn't moody because we didn't have something prepared and then it was just stressful. So, if you're anything like me, you will appreciate having a really good meal planning routine in place. But I think the most important thing about a meal planning routine is to keep it super simple so that you can stay consistent with it because it was actually more time consuming for us to not have a plan than it is to have a plan. And it sounds a little bit weird that doing the whole planning process ahead of time, it sounds like, oh, that's just going to be a lot of extra time. I don't have time. It needs to be quick and all of that. But when you take time to plan ahead, it is quick. And then it actually saves you a lot of time in the actual week of the process. So it makes things just so much smoother and it saves you time and it saves you energy. It saves you from having bad moods. It's just a great routine to have in place. So, here we go. The 5 must-dos for in my personal opinion, for a stress-free meal planning routine. Number 1, you need to plan ahead, and I like to plan a week ahead. So I'm typically trying to plan out on a Thursday or a Friday for the following Tuesday through Monday. And the only reason I do it that way is because I always do our grocery shopping early on Tuesday morning before my chiropractor appointment so that I can get home, get everything prepped and done so that I can get to work at a decent time. So, because I always do our grocery shopping on Tuesday mornings, we need to have a menu selected from that Tuesday to the following Monday so that we're ready again for the next Tuesday grocery trip. So that's just the way that we do it. And because I really think that planning ahead is so key, I don't particularly like doing a lot of planning over the weekend if I don't have to. So if I can get it done on a Thursday or Friday, then I don't have to stress about it over the weekend. And then I'm not like running into delays on Monday. If I have to, I could plan it on Monday, but then you're just cutting it a little bit closer because I have to have it ready to go on that Monday or Tuesday morning. So for me, it just makes it so much stress free, so much more stress free if I plan it on Thursday or Friday. That's just my personal preference. You can decide when it works best for you and what days you need to plan through. But taking the time to plan for the week ahead of time makes a huge difference. So, what you're looking at is your dinners. Just grab a calendar. I love using a plain wall calendar because this allows you to write all your dinners out. And then not only do you have it super simple and easy to see, it's not super cluttery, it just is easy to maintain and it's not overwhelming, but you also will have all of your previous menus and your weekly menus at your fingertips the more you do this. So it just makes it so incredibly easy. You can hang it up on the wall, you can tack it up inside of a kitchen cabinet, whatever works for you, but it just makes it super easy to do it on a wall calendar. And so all I do is I write in the dinners, and when you're only looking at 7 of them and you take a look at your schedule to see if you need to cross any off if you're going to be out of town, and then you plug in maybe a leftovers night or a fridge sweep night where you're going to be using up any leftovers before you do the next grocery trip, it makes it so easy to just plug in 7, maybe 5 to 7, depending on what your week looks like. If you're making every meal at home through the whole week, then you only have 7 dinners to come up with. And I can guarantee you, you can come up with 7 dinners and it can be pretty quick. You can plug in your family favorites. You can plug in just quick and easy go to recipes. You can plug in a crock pot meal, just anything that is going to be super simple. Just write those in. Once you have your dinners in, just pick 1 to 2 breakfast or lunch ideas and lunch ideas. So you're going to make it super quick, super easy. You're just going to plug these things in. You now have a full week's menu. And that's it. That's planning your week ahead. So it is so easy, and when you're doing it ahead of time, you can have more time to think without that decision fatigue, and it's not the night of, and it is so much less stressful. I don't know why it makes it less stressful to decide 7 nights worth of dinners ahead of time versus 1 dinner the night of, but it does. It is so much easier to do it this way. The second thing that you must do is to plan one shopping trip. We used to, before we had this meal planning routine in place, we used to stop at the grocery store several times throughout the week because once you figured out what you were having, then somebody had to stop on the way home from work to pick up what we needed, or we didn't have everything that we needed when we decided to make something. So then one of us had to run back up to the grocery store. It was often Tony because he does a lot of those like little tiny runs. But we had to constantly be making these trips. And not only is it inconvenient and it wastes time, but you're also usually spending a lot more money because you don't typically just go for the one or two items that you're going in for. You see some other things that look good and some snacks, and they're more impulse purchases. So all of these like little random or shopping trips end up adding up and they take up time, money, effort, all the things. So, what I want you to do is once you have your meal plan written out, which is super quick, write that out. Now, go through the list, see what you already have on hand, what's in your fridge, pantry, freezer, all the things, and then just write a quick list of what you need for the whole week. And you have one shopping list. And then you can go and you can just do your shopping one time, even if it takes you a full hour, which, if you go quick and if you follow what I teach about organizing your list, it should not take you a full hour to go in and grocery shop. But even if it would take you a full hour, you have 1 hour a week of shopping and then you're done. And it is so delightful. And then the third thing that you must do is prep right when you get home. This one is incredibly important, I have found for myself. So I would imagine it's going to be incredibly important for others as well. So this one is that when you get home, you want to prep as much as you can in as short of a time as possible. I don't want you to have to spend all Sunday afternoon prepping. I don't want you to have to spend an entire day on Saturday prepping. I don't want you to even have to spend a whole morning on a weekday prepping. This should be something that is very, very quick. Hopefully, 15 minutes to 1 hour, and then you're done. But what you're looking at doing is you're getting everything home, you are cleaning your produce, and then you are prepping as much as you can. So if you are cleaning your peppers and your cauliflower and your broccoli and your celery and your carrots and all of those things, clean them, chop them, and get them in containers in the fridge, because not only does this help preserve them, and if you are storing them properly, and you can Google a cheat sheet on how to properly store produce. You can use produce containers, you can use mason jars, you can use Ziplocs depending on what it is. You can do all these different ways of storing food, but if you want it to keep it super simple and, no plastic, mason jars are amazing. But what you're doing is you are just trying to clean and chop as much of your produce as you can to make your future dinners even easier. So if you are looking at salads, then all you have to do is pull out all of your cleaned veggies. You maybe have to chop them up a little bit finer for a salad, or you have all this produce, like you've got your broccoli, cauliflower, carrot, celery, all those things. You've got them already cleaned, so they're easy to go and throw in snacks and lunches. And when you're hungry, you've already got that produce prepped. You don't have to go actually clean it when you're hungry and looking for a snack. It's already ready to go. If you're doing roasted vegetables or anything like that, you can just dump them onto a sheet pan because they're already cleaned, they're already chopped. It is so nice. It can totally change the game for dinners and how quickly they go and how stress free they are. And it only takes a few minutes to toss all of your produce in a clean kitchen sink with cold water and some white vinegar. Throw it all in there while you put the rest of the dishes away, and then rinse it all off and pull it out and start chopping it. And you can throw on some music, you can throw on a podcast, whatever you want, and then just get it all prepped and get it in the fridge. And then you are done prepping all those veggies for the week. Now, if you want to, you can do additional things at this time. I don't say you have to. I would be more focused on the veggies because a lot of us, if we don't prep our veggies ahead of time, they start to liquefy in the fridge. And then all of a sudden, we have all this wilted produce in our in our drawers, our produce drawers, that we totally forgot about and now it's wasted. That doesn't happen when you are prepping it all because it's already ready to go and it's less hassle to grab it. So, but if you want to, you can be doing other things at this time. If you want to be making hard boiled eggs, if you want to throw some muffins in, if you want to throw an egg bake in, any of those additional things that you are planning for the week, go ahead and toss those in the oven or get them on the stove top going while you're chopping your vegetables. You can still do this in under an hour, but you're just trying to get yourself prepped with things that are going to be a little bit more time consuming later on in the week. If you've got berries, if you've got fruit, all that stuff, just get it cleaned and prepped in the fridge so it's ready to go and you don't have to worry about it. It just makes it so easy to put quick dinners, lunches, breakfasts, all the things together. You can do a yogurt parfait and throw some cleaned berries on there already, like all the things. It just makes it so easy. The fourth thing that you want to do for a stress-free meal planning routine is to make it a habit to look ahead at your menu every night. So when you're doing this at your, meal planning time, but what you're doing is you're looking ahead for the next 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 days and you are looking, do you need to pull anything out of the freezer? That's the big one. If you do, have a little container in your fridge that you put anything frozen, all of your meat, if you're pulling out chicken or ground beef or ground venison, anything from the freezer, throw it into that bin so that in the next 1 to 2 to 3 days, it is completely thawed and ready to go for you so that you're not waiting on things to thaw when it's time to make dinner. You've already got it ready to go. So then your other thing is that you are also looking at what you are making if you should make extra to make the next days easier. So if you are doing, say you're doing spaghetti tonight, then you are looking at okay, so let me let me back up a little bit. Let's say tomorrow is spaghetti because tonight you are looking ahead. So if you are looking ahead and you see that tomorrow is spaghetti and the next night is tacos and the next night is enchiladas. I don't know why we're doing these things, but I'm just giving you an example. So let's say that's your menu for the next 3 days. Well, you're going to want to pull out a lot of ground beef or ground venison or whatever type of meat you're using. Now, because it's within a 3 day window, you don't want to go too far if it's meat, but if you're in a 3 day window, you could totally pull extra out tonight so that you have enough meat to cover the next 3 meals. Okay. So then you have all of that meat out. So then tomorrow, when you are browning the ground beef, let's say it's ground beef, if you are browning the ground beef for your spaghetti, make extra so that you have enough for tacos and you have enough for your enchiladas. So you've got all of that cooking. And then before you add your spaghetti sauce, just pull aside 2/3 of it and set it aside. And then continue making your spaghetti. And then you've got all of this ground beef already browned, ready to go, and you are making your spaghetti without actually adding any time or effort. It's just, well, maybe a little bit of time if you're cooking extra meat, but it's really no extra effort. It's no extra dishes, all of the things. It just makes it so easy. So now you've got ground beef already browned in the fridge. So when it comes time to making tacos, you can throw that half of that on the stove top, put in your taco seasoning, and you've got your taco meat ready to go. The third night, you could throw both of it in and do like your taco seasoning on both of those servings and then put it all in, season it all up, take half of it, put it back in the fridge so it's ready to go for your enchiladas, and then use that first batch for your tacos. And then you've got your enchilada taco meat ready to go. You can make those up the third night, and it is so simple. And if you've already had your veggies prepped, then you've already got all your peppers done, you've got your lettuce done, you've got your tomatoes cleaned, like all the things. It just makes it so incredibly easy. And if you do have to chop anything, it's going to be very minimal. So it just makes it so much easier when you get these habits into place to look ahead. And it sounds like it's time consuming, but it's actually so much easier and it reduces the stress and the overwhelm so much. All right. The fifth thing that you want to do is to make it a habit to wash dishes as you go. So this one is So important because the worst thing at the end of the night after making dinner is having a kitchen that is absolutely destroyed. So when we can, you always want to start dinner with no dishes. So if you have the ability to, you want to have like little times throughout your day where you're checking in on dishes. If you go through a lot of dishes, you might have to load and unload the dishwasher several times throughout the day, and you're going to have to decide what those times are for you throughout the day. If you live in a household where it's, a couple of people where like it's just Tony and I right now. So if we have the dishwasher unloaded in the morning, we can usually get a full day where we're loading it up as we go throughout the day and washing, by hand what we need to. And then by the end of the night, we can just run it overnight and then I'll unload it again in the morning. But yours might need to run a couple of more times throughout the day. If you have a really large family, you're going through a lot of dishes. But if you can, you want to start your or your dinner routine with no dishes. So preferably your dishwasher would be unloaded and your dishes, if you had any air drying or anything like that, those would be put away. So when you start your dinner, you can go in and you can fill your sink with hot soapy water. And then as you cook, drop things in there, rinse them out and wash them out quick, rinse them off, and put them in a drying rack or on a towel. This makes things so much faster because things are not taking time and crusting on anything so that it's harder to scrub. If you're putting it in the wash or in the soapy water right after you're using it, it is so easy to clean these things. So not only is it taking less time to actually wash the dishes, but by the end of your meal, your dishes are pretty much going to be done. So all you have to do at the end is wash your plates or throw those in the dishwasher and what you used to actually eat the meal. And then you've got whatever the meal was in. And it minimizes your dishes and the workload after dinner by a ton. So you can just put away any leftovers, wash up the last of those dishes, and you can be all cleaned up from your dinner and relaxing for the end of the night or whatever your nighttime routine is. And you can just have seamless, stress free evenings altogether. So it's less stress from the planning portion. It's less stress from the prepping portion. It's less stress from having to go out and run and grab extra ingredients. It's less stress cooking it. It's less stress figuring out, what is thawed, what you need to pull out of the freezer. It just overall is so easy. And it actually makes cooking fun again. If you don't enjoy cooking because it's a hassle, because it's something you have to do, this might be a way that you can kind of reinvigorate your love for cooking or find a love for cooking because you can actually enjoy the process and it doesn't have to be so stressful. It's something that we often do. We want to figure out a way to enjoy it so that we don't spend so much time throughout our lives just being stressed about it. So I'm hoping that you can take these and you can put in a meal planning routine that works really well for you. If you need to go back and listen to some of my episodes on the meal planning routine, I walk you through doing it, step by step. I walk you through what I would do. I walk you through a whole menu planning process in some of my old episodes. Like you can go back and listen to whatever you need to. If you want to go into our Facebook community, you can go to facebook.com/groups/ the routine advantage community. And at the top of the group, there is a pinned post that gives you an episode library. Just click on that, it opens a spreadsheet, and you can search meal planning or menu, and it'll come up with all of those episodes that you can just click through and you don't have to go scrolling through. Although, if you want to, you certainly can. So that is what I have for you today. I will quickly recap those 5 must-dos for a stress-free meal planning routine. Number one, plan ahead, and I like to do a week ahead. You put dinners on and then just pick 1 or 2 breakfasts and lunch ideas, make it super easy. And I like to do it on a wall calendar. Number 2, plan one shopping trip. Get everything you need in one trip. Number 3, prep what you can right when you get home. This is your produce, your vegetables, your fruit, things like that. Your hard boiled eggs, muffins, anything that you want to prep ahead, go ahead and prep it right when you get home and get it in the fridge. Number Whoop, that was number 3. Number 4 is to make it a habit to look ahead each night at your menu coming up for the next 1 to 3 days. Do you need to pull anything out from the freezer? Do you need to make anything extra, whether it's your, protein, your chicken, your beef? Is it extra rice maybe? Things like that. Do you need or can you prep anything else in a larger batch to make it easier for your days coming up? And then number 5 is to make it a habit to wash your dishes as you go. This makes your meal planning routine so much easier. And basically, what you want to do is each week you kind of rinse and repeat this. You just do the same thing over and over. You'll get better at it. You'll get more efficient at it. You will start doing it without even thinking about it. And you can do, whatever works for you. If you have a crazy schedule and you need to just fill this in at the pockets of your days, you can do that, but if you have a pretty consistent schedule where you can pretty much always plan your menu on a Friday morning and you can always do your grocery shopping on a Monday morning, go ahead and do that. Like, plan the time and make it a habit where you can be really consistent, and it makes it so much easier to stick to something like this. You don't have to do it that way if your schedule is all over the place. You can make this work for whatever your schedule will do. Just plug in the time. Plug in the time to plan, plug in the time to do your shopping trip, plug in the time to do all your prepping, plug in the time or plug in a habit or even like a timer on your phone, alarm on your phone to look ahead at the menu for the next couple of days and make it like even put it in your phone to remind you to wash dishes until it becomes a consistent habit where you don't have to think about it anymore. Anything that makes it a little bit easier for us to remember until it becomes automatic is a great way to do it. And if we need to plug it into our phones so that we get an alarm telling us to do these things, then you can do that for a while until it becomes that consistent habit. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that you no longer have to be stressed about what is for dinner and that you don't have to get cranky like I do. Because it is no fun. We want to spend our evenings being really happy and enjoying the time and enjoying the food, not being stressed about what is for dinner and how we could be doing anything else because we all need to eat. So let's make it easy on ourselves and plan ahead. So I hope you enjoyed that episode. I will catch you on the next one.
Did you love that episode or learn something useful? If so, would you do me a huge favor? My goal is to grow this podcast and help as many women as I can break free from the overwhelm so they can truly enjoy their life. The best way for me to do this is for you to leave a 5-star written review on your podcast app and to share this episode with a friend or in your Instagram stories. I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care.
If you have been dreaming of finding the perfect paper planner, look no further. My favorite paper planner is the Dream Planner by Horatio Printing. They have nice thick pages, so there is no bleed through. There are simple, clean lines, so you can keep it super minimal if that's your style, or you have the space to get really creative if you like doing decorations or washi tape or stickers and all the things. There is enough structure to keep you organized without it being overwhelming. And there are even pages to plan your annual goals and dream, and even do a check in each quarter. There are plenty of pages in the back, and this is where I like to track our marriage goals, my cycle, podcast progress throughout the year to keep this podcast going, my annual task list, and even habits that align with my goals. My favorite version is their black leather lay flat version, but you can also get other colors or even the spiral bound version if you are a spiral kind of girl. So I use my Google Calendar for my schedule, but if you have been listening to the podcast long, you know that I use my paper planner to plan out my upcoming week every Friday morning during my morning routine. This is a time that I can see my day stacks, I can plug in my priority tasks for the week and update my habit trackers to see if I am on pace to reach my goals. It is one of my favorite times of the week, and I love my paper planner. It's the only one that I've been able to stay consistently using throughout the entire year. And I Love it. So once they sell out, they are gone for good. So you're going to want to grab yours quickly before they are gone if you want one for 2025. You can go to horatioprinting.com. That's HORACIO printing.com and use code Renae15 for 15% off your entire order. That's RENAE15 to get 15% off. You are not going to be sorry, and you will have so much fun planning the year ahead.